Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there is a ton of news stories to get into today. So let's get into today's AEW stories. And let's start off by talking about Tony Khan talking about the investment, the mythical investment in AEW Games. Now this stems, of course, from that Forbes article that was released last week and mentioned that AEW would be profitable if it wasn't for the investment in the AEW video game projects that they have right now. An 8-figure investment into the AEW ongoing video games projects has left AEW in the red. They are making a loss at the moment, which is perfectly normal for any company, especially starting out in the first couple of years, let alone in pro wrestling. But this video game investment led to a lot of people saying, see, AEW, they're burning through money. They won't last that much longer. And look at their ratings. Look at their viewership on Friday Night Dynamite. They're just doing terrible, terrible, terrible. They're in the red. See you later, AEW. AEW in the mud. Tony Khan's leeching off his father's money, all that kind of just nonsense from social media. So Tony Khan's recently done an interview and he's spoken about it. He's spoken about the investment and has actually revealed the amount that AEW currently is investing on their respective video game projects. And this is very interesting, actually. Now, AEW President, CEO, and General Manager and Head of Creative, got to get all of those titles in, brother, recently spoke with Mike Johnson of PW Insider and revealed the company has invested $20 million into their video game projects. Now, of course, Forbes recently profiled Khan and AEW in a piece that included comments from Tony's father, AEW lead investor Shahid Khan. The article revealed that AEW has an 8-figure investment into video game development, which will keep the company in the red and not profitable for now. Emphasis on for now. Now, in his new interview with PW Insider, Khan revealed the 8-figure number to be $20 million. Khan was asked to explain the video game investment and his thoughts on people who pointed to the company being in the red as a sign that something is wrong. Khan talked about how the wrestling side of the company is profitable this year and how he thinks it's comical for people to criticize the video game investment. He also mentioned how AEW's pay-per-view buys are way ahead of all projections, which again is everything that I'd said here on the channel, because it's true. It's just people looking for something to criticize, people looking for narratives and agendas to push. This is what Khan had to say, quotes, "I know the wrestling end is profitable this year. We're going to make money in wrestling this year because of our great partnerships. Our pay-per-views are way ahead of anybody's projections. They're all up year over year. So far, our 2 biggest pay-per-view events we've ever done have been the 2 we've done in 2021. They're both up year over year in a major way, going back to live events with great advanced sales, and the big things we're doing, like this announcement of AEW Dynamite Grand Slam in New York. The week before, the huge crowd, we've already got over 9,000 tickets sold in Newark, and we'll definitely sell over 10,000 tickets. I expect to sell out Newark also the week before we're here, and just love the schedule as we go into All Out this summer. It's a great time to talk about it. So to your point, we've got this great wrestling operation. I've made this huge investment into video games, and it's comical to me that anybody would try to pull it. It goes to show that I think people will try and take a negative out of a positive sometimes, because this is a hugely positive thing. Our wrestling company is very profitable. The only reason I won't net money this year on AEW in our second full year operations, it's a really big point to make there, second full year operations, which is pretty amazing, frankly, for a startup that's had the level of investment we've had behind AEW and the amount of time that this has been going, that will be significantly profitable already as a venture. Again, and it's true. It's totally true. Again, I talk about agendas, and I talk about people trying to push narratives, but it's true. People that were trying to spin that AEW was in the mud and AEW, they're in the red, they're going to go out of business, all that kind of stuff. You have to realize, frankly, the success of this company. We've all been desperate. Everyone's been desperate for an alternative. We're desperate for competition. It'd be so good if there was another company that could push WWE or was a viable alternative to WWE. It's a place where people could go to work. It would allow talent to not be, backed into a corner of one company they have to go to. It prevents WWE from having a monopoly, all this kind of stuff. And then we do get a company that is, really, yes, they have a big investment. Yes, they have a billionaire family, but that's what you need. That's what you need nowadays in the world of pro wrestling, right? And the fact that they've been around, as Tony Khan mentioned, their second full year of operations, they've spent more time being in a pandemic than they have outside of it when they've been operating. Again, most companies fold within their first couple of years of operation anyway, irrespective of pro wrestling. Most companies don't make a profit until the third, fourth, fifth, maybe even sixth year. because that's how business works, let alone a business inside of a pandemic. Most startup businesses went out of business very quickly because of everything that's happened over the course of the last 18 months. So the fact that AEW is on course to be profitable by the end of this year, and on the wrestling side of things, they're already profitable, and Tony Khan is comfortable with investing $20 million into video game investments because he realizes that's an extra way of making money. It's a massive success story. It's a huge success story. And again, the fact that people want to push it and they want to spin it certain ways it's laughable. It's absolutely laughable, because these are the same people that are always talking about wanting competition and wanting other places for wrestlers to work and wanting viable alternatives, because competition, forces other companies to be better. It's total hypocrisy. And as I mentioned, it's agendas and it's narratives being pushed. Now, going back to Khan's interview with PW Insider, Khan also mentioned he has no interest in taking AEW public like WWE did years ago. While WWE has made multiple budget cuts through COVID-19, the pandemic, Khan said he takes pride in avoiding pandemic layoffs because he's a people person. He also talked about AEW growth. He said, the huge market cap this company would potentially have if I had any interest in taking it public, which I don't. I care about the company so much. It's a great asset, but I don't see it as an asset to leverage or try and squeeze every dollar out of. I'm a people person. So I would say this honestly, like, I care about running a profitable business, but I also take a lot of pride in the fact I didn't lay any people off during the pandemic. Almost everybody, we have over 95% retention rate of people through the pandemic, and I actually had significantly higher than 95%. Almost everybody we started with is here. Not only that, but we've added so many people through the pandemic and expanded and grown in the past year in so many ways. I'm not trying to cut back at all. I want to grow the company and invest in people now with the fans coming back. It's a great time to do that. So anybody that would try and draw a negative out of the fact that the wrestling operation is profitable this year, but that the company technically won't be in the black because I'm making this huge investment into gaming and video games in particular, it's crazy. Because that's like going to be an even bigger investment that's going to pay off huge. That I've made this huge 8-figure investment into video games because we won't see any of that revenue until 2022. That's why it's not going to pay off in 2021 on our books. For the purposes of the calendar year, that may be true. But in 2022, we're going to have a huge year. When we start seeing the receipts of the games and we have a great TV contract, we'll continue to expand and grow as live events and a touring company, but as also as a television and pay-per-view company. Again, I don't want this video to come off as me just being an AEW marker, an AEW shield. I know people will say that anyway, because sometimes if you give praise to any company, whether it's WWE, AEW, Impact, New Japan, you're suddenly a shill for that company, even though he's not lying here. And don't get me wrong, sometimes I see Tony Khan interviews, sometimes I see Tony Khan speak and do all of these different, again, media interviews or whatever, and sometimes you do say, I think that's BS, I'm not sure about that. That's just when you have CEOs or chairmen or whatever and they're talking about their company, of course they're going to build it up, of course. They're going to say, we're great, we're great, we're great. That's what the job is, unfortunately. You have to read between the lines, but he's not lying there. He really is not lying. Again, if you look at the AEW and you look at the projections, and again, I'm not this giant Wall Street business aficionado. I'm really not, but it's not difficult to see. I mean, I've only done a couple of business classes at school, and it's not difficult to see. AEW coming out of the pandemic is in a really strong position. They truly are. Again, the fact that they would be profitable without an investment in video games, despite operating for the majority of their tenure during a pandemic, is unbelievable. As I mentioned, the 2 pay-per-views they've done this year are the 2 biggest pay-per-views they've ever done in terms of buy rates. Again, that's very, very good. They're selling out tickets. They pretty much sold out Double or Nothing. Again, during a pandemic, they've got these events coming up on the road, and ticket sales are going to help out AEW. They've also got a huge event coming in September in New York, possibly 20,000 people in the Arthur Ashe Stadium, a stadium that's never, an arena, shall we say, but it's kind of outside, a place that's never run pro wrestling before. They've got so much coming up this year. It's going to be a really big second half of the year for AEW. And again, this is a company that for the majority of the time, they've operated during a pandemic. And now they're coming out of it, and they're going to be making money. There is no reason to not have any optimism for AEW this year. again, Tony Khan, he's not lying here, and people are looking for things. They're looking for negative things to spin, and if you've got an agenda you want to push, that's fine, but at least have some logic to back it up. This is the thing, is that a lot of people, when they're looking at these things, and they just read the headlines, they don't read the article, and that's what they did when it came to this AEW in the red narrative or agenda that they were pushing. They were just looking at the headline. They weren't reading any articles. They saw AEW in the red. They didn't even see the rest of it. They just saw AEW in the red. They thought, great, I can tell people that AEW sucks. I was right. I'm justified. I knew I hated AEW for a reason. I'm never, ever wrong. I'm going to tell everyone on social media in the mud, WWE forever. It's like, oh, come on. Have a bit, at least try and hide your agenda if you've got one that's that plain. At least actually back it up with facts. And that's the problem, is that facts no longer exist. It's all about just pushing agendas, pushing narratives. It's crazy. Now, getting more into this investment into the video games from AEW, Tony Khan revealed that the $20 million investment into Epic Games, noting that this is worth a lot more than $20 million now. He also talked about more growth and how 2022 will be a huge year for the company. Khan promised that AEW will deliver a great console video game for people next year and will make, quote, a ton of money at the same time, being, quote, very profitable across the board. This is what Khan had to say, quote, I expect we'll continue to see great growth, and with the launch of Rampage, things are really going to be shaping up for a great 2022, as it will be the first full year of Rampage, so it's going to be a huge year for us. But in 2021, I'm making an investment. While a lot of people are pulling out and cutting back and not investing during the pandemic, I made an investment in people, and also, frankly, a huge investment in video games. I'm an investor in the gaming space, and I think I've been a savvy investor. I made a large investment with my family that I pushed my family to make, and kind of along with AEW, I would describe it as one of the two investments where I've kind of dragged my dad across the goal line a little bit. We put $20 million into Epic Games, which looks pretty smart now because it was worth a lot more than that now. So gaming is something we know a lot about, and we happen to work with very closely a gaming expert by the name of Kenny Omega, who's put together some great ideas and is doing a great job, along with Nick Sobak and a lot of other great people I work with. We're going to deliver a great game for the people next year. We're going to make a ton of money. We'll be very profitable in all things next year. But this year is a profitable wrestling year for us, and that's big. And making a big investment in gaming is a good thing. It shows the health and stability of the company. So it just goes to show, like, if you want to try and draw a negative out of something positive, there's people on Twitter that will try and do that sometimes. And again, I totally agree on that. I do. When he says, we're going to make a ton of money on the video game next year, that's something he doesn't know. That is when you get into the realm of, okay, that's a CEO promoting his company. Who knows if the video game will do well? They're investing a lot of money into it. They're investing a lot of time into it. That should mean that it's going to be a profitable game and a successful game. And as I've mentioned before, when it comes to the gaming space for AEW, I think they realize there's a space there. There certainly is a huge demand for a good pro wrestling game on social media, on a console, from a major company like a WWE, like an AEW. Like I said, I'm hardly a gamer. I'm hardly one of those people. I mean, I can't even remember the last WWE game I played, but I grew up playing the games, and I think most people would probably say it was like the golden generation of pro wrestling games, whether it was SmackDown 2 was one of my favorite games, or the SmackDown versus Raw franchise was great with General Manager mode, SmackDown Shut Your Mouth, SmackDown Here Comes the Pain. No Mercy was a little bit before my time. I must say I have played it, but I didn't exactly grow up with it because it's just a little bit before my time. But, also had some stinkers on there as well. WWE Raw on Xbox. I had both of them, Raw 1 and Raw 2. Day of Reckoning's underrated as well, I think, and even the WrestleMania 21 on the Xbox. I played all of those games because I was obsessed with pro wrestling growing up, and but there is a space for it because if what you see on social media is accurate, which again debatable, but if what you see on social media, and certainly people that know video games, not just pro wrestling video games in general, they've been slating the WWE video games for a really long time because they haven't been good. They've been cookie cutter. They've been bad. So much so they didn't release a WWE 2K whatever last year because the previous year was so bad it made a lot of top 10 worst games of the year irrespective of pro wrestling. And at the end of the day, it was again probably a loss on investment, and it was really negative PR. AEW looks at that and says, look, if we can make a really good game that people like and is critically acclaimed, we can make a lot of money. 20 million in the grand scheme of things is not that much money if it goes on to be super profitable. So look, time will tell on it. And at the end of the day, it's Tony Khan's company. It's his money. this is what is funny as well, isn't it? Is that people get really angry that I can't believe him investing all that money. What a waste of money. It's his own money. It's a private company. This isn't like the WWE. This isn't investors. This isn't stockholders publicly, and they have to be held. WWE has to be held accountable to their stockholders, their investors. Yes, AEW might have investors, but this is a private company. It's owned by Tony Khan. It's owned by the Khan family. If they want to invest their money into video games, that's their money. That's their choice. If it fails, that's on them. That's not to any investors or stockholders getting dragged over the coals or anything like that. It's their money, so it's up to them, right? So it's a fascinating story. I mean, I hope the AEW game is great, and probably again, I'm not really much of a gamer. I'll be totally honest, but as we're expanding things here on the channel, if that's what you want to see, then I suppose we could do gaming stuff. Time will tell with that kind of stuff. I'm open to anything. So it's a fascinating story because of, again, for the insight into the company, obviously, but also the reaction on social media. I think that's fascinating as well. Now, speaking of fascinating, that's a picture you did not expect to see. Joey Janela with Drake Wuertz. Now, this is just a crazy story. So Joey Janela, AEW star Joey Janela, interrupted a Seminole County school board meeting Tuesday and was subsequently kicked out for trolling officials in attendance. Janela met up with released WWE official Drake Wuertz, who has been actively protesting against the mask mandate in recent months. Wuertz also promoted conspiracy theories related to QAnon. After getting kicked out of the meeting, Janela tweeted, quote, "I was kicked out within 5 minutes for yelling at a doctor or something. He was a liar." Now, he also he's posted a ton of tweets about this, saying, "I got dressed up tonight to check out my local Seminole County school board meeting. Hashtag God bless America. Hashtag USA. Hashtag Jesus. Hashtag unmask the children. Hashtag mask off. Save the kids. Make America great again." All this kind of stuff. He also posted a clip of the speech. I can't post it here, but he also posted a clip of the speech that he wanted to say, and he's affecting like a southern accent. For those who are concerned, because I know some people have seen this and think, oh no, is Joey Janela, is he like Drake Wuertz? Is he another anti-masker? Is he another anti-vaxxer? Is he another one that's promoting these conspiracy theories? Is he another one of those people? Oh no. He is actively trolling Drake Wuertz. I think that's really important to say. Some people, it goes to show, doesn't it? But some people really aren't getting it, which is concerning that people can watch this and think he's being serious. I think that probably says quite a lot, though, doesn't it? Is that the fact that people are watching this and they can't tell if Joey Janela is being serious or joking says a lot about real people who legitimately are serious. I think it shows how crazy all of this is that you can see Joey Janela, who is actively over the top and mocking this and trolling these people, and people are looking at him going, I can't tell if people are trolling anymore because people's real life behavior is so crazy that people look at this Joey Janela thing and go, I don't know, he might be being real. He's not, don't worry. Now, you could argue, and I'm sure some people will say, well, why would should Joey Janela even really be mocking this thing? Is he giving people, is he giving people a platform? Is he giving people exposure that shouldn't give it by him mocking these people? People still look into it. It goes back to the kind of the late night coverage and the news coverage of all of this stuff, isn't it? Is that you cover them because of the crazy stuff they're saying, and you cover them for the madness and the conspiracy theories that they're promoting. But by covering them, you're also actively promoting them as well. But kind of by accident, it's a bit of a weird situation, isn't it, at the moment? I don't know if I'd necessarily get into that. I think, like I said, for me, when I read it and I saw the clips and stuff like that, he's actively mocking them. But I think it's funny that Drake Wuertz obviously didn't realize as well. The whole thing is just crazy. It really is. Let's go back to Tony Khan. Tony Khan, as I mentioned, has been doing the interviews recently, making the media rounds. He did an appearance on the Busted Open radio show, and he talked about his recent profile, as I mentioned, with Forbes. He also spoke about the relationship with his father. Of course, he's a big investor, and his father's quotes in the Forbes article. Khan talked about how he successfully won his father over to the idea of All Elite Wrestling. He said, quote, "It's a great relationship. He's the best. In the end, that was kind of where he left it, and it took a lot of fighting, a lot of business plans, and a lot of presentations. He definitely didn't just roll over and fund this project. I made a lot of cases, and after I saw I'd done the work, and this is where he left it. He still didn't really believe it was going to work, but he could see that I put in the time and definitely had the business plan and some ideas and made some connections. Definitely, he made some progress. In the end, he still didn't really believe in it, but he did take a leap of faith, and I'm so glad he did. And that was my dad. He really stole the show in that article. I thought that was really the highlight quote of the whole thing. It's very fitting, I think. Really enjoyed it. Now, he's obviously referencing to basically Shahid Khan basically said after all of these pitches and all of these business plans by Tony Khan, he essentially said to his son, look, I'm going to leave you a lot of money. I'm paraphrasing here because I can't remember the exact quote, but he essentially said, I'm going to leave you a lot of money, so why not blow it while I'm alive as opposed to when I'm dead, sort of thing. Because he thought that AEW wasn't going to work. He thought he was just going to give him this money and he was just going to blow it. And he hasn't. He was proved wrong, as everyone has been over time. Now, Khan is a lifelong pro wrestling fan, and the rest of his family has been slower to warm up to it. That makes the fact that they enjoy AEW one of his proudest accomplishments since starting the promotion. He said, quote, I always want to make my dad proud and my parents proud, and they are. They love AEW. That makes me as proud as anything, because honestly, everybody listening to this show, for the most part, knows I love pro wrestling so much. And I'm sure many of you have family members who have no patience for wrestling. If you're listening to Busted Open, it probably means a lot to you too. And you can't get your family to stick around. Stay in the room when you want to put wrestling on. One of the great things about AEW for me, so many of my friends who never embraced wrestling have given AEW a chance, and they like it because AEW hasn't insulted their intelligence in some of the same ways. They found a lot of wrestlers in the company that they're compelled by. For my parents, I always joke around that they couldn't sit through wrestling for 5 minutes, and now they know every little character on AEW. They know who Marco Stunt is. They wouldn't sit around 5 minutes of wrestling until AEW. I'm so proud it's been successful and that I haven't let them down. Now, obviously, it's great to hear that I think everyone mostly wants to make their parents proud, right? You want to reward them for their faith in you, or sometimes prove them wrong for the lack of it, right? I do think, you do have to sort of go a little bit when you go, they like to watch AEW because they don't have their intelligence insulted. Some people will beg to differ, and that goes back to preference, I guess, on pro wrestling. But whenever Tony Khan does these interviews, it's always very interesting. And that Forbes article I thought was tremendous. If you haven't read it, I would definitely go and read it. And he's right. His father does certainly steal the show in that. It's fascinating to see. Now, Jungle Boy is scheduled to be facing Kenny Omega for the AEW World Championship this Saturday night on Dynamite. And just days before he challenges Kenny Omega for that same AEW World Championship, Jungle Boy joined the Busted Open radio show to talk about his big match. And he was asked a ton of questions talking about such things as entering the World Championship picture, talking about his entrance music, talking about what he would like to improve on. This was asked by Bully Ray. I thought this was a really interesting quote. So Bully Ray asked Jungle Boy what he would like to improve on. Whilst his ultimate goal is to become a better overall performer, there is one skill that Jungle Boy knows that he's lacking in. He said, quote, I'm not a promo guy at all. That's never been something I've been super into, probably because I'm not great at it, and it's something I've not done a lot of. And I can definitely feel that's kind of my weak point in my game, so I'd like to improve on that, just kind of being a better, well-rounded wrestler altogether. Now, when asked if he had gotten any advice on how to improve promos, Jungle Boy revealed that he mostly tries to avoid them as much as possible. That said, he did reveal that people have offered him pointers, including one of AEW's top producers. He said, quote, honestly, every time they ask me to do it, I kind of try and duck and run away and not have to. A lot of people have given me advice here and there. Actually, our producer, who ends up being the one filming a lot of them, Jess Palumbo, has helped me quite a lot because she's there all day filming people, cutting promos. I think when the time comes to really buckle down and get good at it, there are a lot of people who are good people to help, so that's good. It's a bit... I appreciate there that Jungle Boy is basically saying, look, I'm not a promo guy. I'm not very good at promos. I know that's something I have to improve. But when you then follow that by with, when they ask me to do promos, I try and avoid them and don't want to do them. That isn't the way to improve it. That, to me, sounds like someone trying to put something off because they know they're not good at it. Look, he's obviously doesn't want to embarrass himself. That's what he's concerned by. He doesn't want to do a bad promo that gets played on social media, or he doesn't want to do a bad promo on television that people go, that was a bad promo. Unfortunately, in the world of pro wrestling, that's what you have to do. I'm sure that the best promos in the world today, whether it's Chris Jericho, whether it's Roman Reigns in WWE, whether it's The Rock, whether it's John Cena, whether it's Stone Cold Steve Austin, whether it's some of the greatest promo people of all time, it's very, very, very rare that the promos just come like that naturally. That's rare. Like anything in not just pro wrestling, in life. You have to work at it. You have to work at it. You have to fail. You have to fall on your face. You have to get back up and you have to go, okay, that didn't work. Why didn't that work? Okay, I'll have to do that again next time. And in the same vein as in pro wrestling, you learn by training and you learn by having matches in front of a crowd. You have to do the same for promos. So I appreciate there that Jungle Boy says, look, I'm not a promo guy. It's something I need to improve. But you're never going to improve when they say, okay, do a promo. I'd rather not. That doesn't, it doesn't work like that. And look, extenuate the positives, hide the negatives. Totally get that. But this guy is a future big star for AEW. He's a future AEW World Champion, but he can only get so far by just being the charismatic babyface. He can't be the charismatic babyface that doesn't talk. Eventually, you have to talk because your character has to evolve and you have to show personality. If Jungle Boy's character in 2 or 3 years' time is exactly the same as it is now, and he still comes out to the Tarzan music and all that kind of stuff, that's great, but we would have seen no character development. There'd be no reason to be continually emotionally invested into that character. You have to give him a reason. And you can only do that so much by wrestling. You can only do that so much by your entrance. You have to evolve. You have to evolve. Even the guys that whole gimmick was not cutting promos, eventually they have to cut promos. Look at people like The Undertaker. Eventually they have to talk. Why? Because you have to evolve. You have to change. So I appreciate that he knows he has to improve on it, but you don't get there by not doing anything, right? You have to do the work. You have to do the work. That's it. Finally, newest AEW superstar Andrade has filed to trademark his new name for general pro wrestling entertainment and merchandise use. Andrade filed to trademark Andrade El Idolo on June 17. The first use in commerce details listed are June 4, 2021, which is the Friday Night Dynamite episode that Andrade debuted on. Andrade made his AEW debut back on June 4 and was introduced as Vicky Guerrero's newest client. He has made it known that he wants to become the new face of AEW. Andrade appeared last week in a sit-down interview with Jim Ross, noting that he chose AEW because the company needed a superstar. He said he's interested in the AEW TNT Championship and the AEW World Championship, but he feels like he deserves the World Championship. He also said he's with Guerrero because she has experience in helping third-generation wrestlers. It was also teased in that interview that he and Guerrero have a surprise plan for the near future. Now, what that surprise is, we covered it the other day, we still haven't heard anything. Might be Zelina Vega. Again, we don't know her situation with WWE. Time will only tell. But I'm excited to see what Andrade does going forward. Again, not totally sold on Vicky Guerrero being his manager, but I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. But look, guys, as always, this is just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on all of these AEW news stories we've spoken about today? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll do my best to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys, talking about AEW, Impact Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, WWE, all things pro wrestling here on the channel. So be sure to get involved in the community. Drop a comment below. All opinions are welcome. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button too. Really does help us out here on YouTube. Got the rankings and get to people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestle News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now. Or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or have you come across this video today. And I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.